Every family has a choice, follow the herd or carve their own path. This is the Lone Wolfe Podcast. Are you ready to stray from the pack?
Welcome to the Lone Wolfe Podcast. Hello!
Illie, thanks for coming to the Lone Wolfe Podcast.
I'm here in the flesh.
I bet this is a new experience. Have you ever podcasted out of a tent before?
This would be a first for me.
You hear that, guys? We're a first. Coolest experience. Or maybe
Hottest.
strangest. Yeah, I don't know.
Because it might get hot in here, but we'll see. We'll find out.
Okay, so tell me, did the low tox lifestyle choose you, or did you choose it?
I feel like, I definitely chose it hoping it would choose me back. You know,
Ooh.
like I went into it just out of desperation, you know, like when you're struggling with so many things and doctors are just like, here's this medication, here's that medication. You're like, I am struggling so bad. Like, I don't have time to keep testing medications. So yeah, I just like changed my whole life around being like, oh my God, I hope this works. And it did. So, you know, it just goes to show you, like, I know not everyone has that experience, but for me, yeah, like I could never go back now, you know?
Were you experiencing like health problems?
Literally every symptom that we've normalized in American society, I was dealing with like all at once. So I was, you know, first, as soon as I got my period, super painful, super heavy. They're like, that's so normal. Then I was getting migraines every other day practically. And they're like, oh, people get migraines all the time. Just take an Advil, take a Tylenol, no big deal. I had severe bloating and they're like, so does everybody. Severe cystic acne all over my chin. They're like, cool, welcome to being a woman. You know, like it was just, I was dismissed. Everything that I brought to my doctors, they were just like, cool, so does everyone. Here's what we do. We put them on birth control, which I went on for 7 years. I was, you know, prescribed everything under the sun. They were trying to get me on Accutane. They were putting me on topical steroids. I had eczema that they were trying to just throw steroids at to help. And of course, nothing was helping. I was on 7 different types of birth control in 7 years because
nothing was working.
Like, I would go on a type of birth control, and again, they're just throwing things at you. So like, literally, I remember my doctor being like, let's see if this helps. And I'm like, what do you mean, let's see? Like, I'm not, weren't the experiments already done to make sure that this works? Like, what do you mean, let's see? So yeah, I was put on 7 different types of birth control in 7 years because every time I would go on it and I would give it a chance, it would take away one symptom and give me another.
And give you 5 more.
So I never fully felt good. And then after a while, I just was like, I can't keep doing this anymore. So, and I feel like I was dismissed even more after getting off birth control because every time I went to a doctor and I was like, I'm still dealing with acne, I'm still dealing with migraines, I'm still dealing with bloating. They were like, well, we should put you back on birth control.
Well, and I think in a way, you're saying all these symptoms that are like normalized for people, but there's a lot to say for what's normalized in women's health as well. Like, that's just PMS. What you're experiencing is just PMS. Every woman should PMS and bloat and have acne and feel unwell and have migraines and be so like incapacitated by your cycle. That's just normal. And you just get pushed to the side. And then if you're somebody who dares to say maybe birth control isn't the solution, you are now like outcasted by that.
They're like, we have nothing else for you. Like, what do you mean you don't want to go on birth control? I'm like, I've tried 7. I don't even think you have any more left for me.
And in a way, it breaks that like dynamic, that like provider relationship, because you don't trust them anymore and they know it. They know that you're not just going to be a compliant patient who will come in for your 10-minute appointment with them where they write you a script and you go, thank you, doctor, you saved me, and walk out. Like, that's what they're used to coming through this rotating door. But when women like you and I show up, like, and this isn't to like shit on all doctors, but like often we get dismissed even harder because they know that we're going to be challenging people to work with.
Yeah, 100%. I remember going in one of my last appointments to my gynecologist, who again was testing all these birth controls on me. I remember the last one that she put me on that completely was like the end for me, but she gave me the Nuva ring. I don't know if you remember. It was like a little silicone ring with and you'd shove it up there.
And it can literally fall out.
It literally immediately within 24 hours of leaving her office, because she's like, okay, you can insert it, yada, yada, and leave. Within 24 hours, I had, this is TMI, the worst UTI. The worst
like
UTI instantly. Like my body was like rejecting it. And that was pretty much her like last thing that she was going to give me that wasn't Nexaplon, which is the one that
in the implant on the arm.
And I was like, I'm not getting that implanted into my arm.
Mm-mm.
The only reason I said no to that, it wasn't even, I was like 18, like no, I was like in my early 20s by this point.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I said that is because I was scared of needles. I was scared of certain, you know. So for me, I didn't even have a lot. You
didn't even know that they can literally migrate into like other
So I'm like
parts of your
that.
body.
My fear that I had just scared me out of it. But now looking back, I'm like, oh my god, that literally protected me, because it's one of the worst birth controls.
It is.
To go on, which is terrifying.
I know.
So yeah, I was like so once they had nothing for me, that's when she was finally able to be like, okay, we'll refer you to a specialist. And then from there I went to all different types of specialists, like one for every little part of my body. It's like, you have a migraine, okay, you go to a neurologist. Okay, you have hormone problems that birth control didn't solve in 7 years, we'll take you to an endocrinologist.
And then you have a dermatologist for your skin.
Exactly. And so I went to all of those, and it just,
and nobody had,
there was nothing. There was nothing for anyone to actually give me. And that's when I started going into like wellness, because like where else do you go?
Well, because then I don't know, I feel like there's this kind of pro con to it, because one, you're like bringing the power back to yourself. Like instead of going to your doctor and being like, please answer my like struggles, I need help, you can go inward and be like, okay, like my body is intelligent and it's asking me for things, it's begging for attention, and I'm going to learn how to listen. But on the flip side of that, like it's really exhausting out here, like being a health and wellness girly. Like
I was literally praying it would work. I was like, please, like don't let this be woo woo, like, you know,
like a TikTok trend or something.
And it's so easy to go down that route, and it does now in hindsight frustrate me when people will now, you know, come on social media and kind of talk about, I mean, obviously there's grifters in every department, right? Like it's not just in the wellness space, it's everywhere. You see it in every, you know, niche on the internet. But to pretty much go back and gaslight people to act like as if we didn't try the conventional route. Like most people in the wellness space, like I didn't grow up in a crunchy household. My mom wasn't an almond mom. Like my mom was the one who took me to, you know, my first gynecologist experience and put me on birth control, and I did that for 7 years. You think if I was crunchy or holistic, I would have gone on 7 different types of birth control and got my Gardasil shot and like done all of these things that I was told to do to keep me quote unquote healthy? Like no. So it's just crazy that even to this day there's so much pushback about women deciding to take ownership of their health and actually saying no to things, and you're looked down on and gaslit about it by people who are like, well, you probably just should have found another doctor. I'm like, you know how many doctors people exhaust before saying, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna do it myself? You know?
Well, and what's wrong with that? I don't know.
I don't see.
I guess we're too maybe sometimes too far in the fuck the system mindset. But like
now for sure.
I mean, I don't know, when you see those systems like for face value and you experience them firsthand walking through them, you see all the ways that they have all these like false promises and like shiny bells and whistles on the outside, but it's a lot of just disappointment on the inside. Like you're just another ticket number, you know, you're just another person walking in. Like there's not that like deep holistic care that you're an individual being with your own individual things going on. And I think it also goes to say, like, how many times have you and I, or probably plenty of other women, gone into the doctor and been like, I'm having this problem, and not once are they ever going to be like, how's your sleep, how's your stress, what do you eat? Like the basics are never even covered. So like, of course we're going to go, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, and go in and figure out like, what should my sleep be, and what should I be eating, and what should, you know what I mean? And actually optimize the basics, so we have like a basic foundation of health to then build upon. Like it just doesn't, to me, the approach doesn't make sense. Like
and it's interesting because I also feel like I have a little bit of a controversial opinion on that too, because I see so many people, and I mostly see it like either friends or family or whoever, just people that will DM me talking about, you know, seeking out help from their doctors, and they themselves know that they're not doing the basics, you know? So I also see that end of it too. I remember I was, you know, a holistic health coach for Like, even though I still have my cert, I was only taking clients for, a couple of months. But in those months, I'd ask people, I'm like, okay, well, are you sleeping well? And they're like, oh, no, not really. Okay, well, do you drink alcohol? Yeah, but, so it's like, I think also there's a level of self-accountability of, okay, well, are we wasting each other's time here? Like when you walk into a doctor's office and you're not exercising, at least a couple times a week, you're not getting sunlight, you're not sleeping well because you're binge watching, Netflix shows up until 2:00 in the morning. Like, innately, you don't need to spend $400 or $500 on a GI map to know that you eat like shit. That's, and I see it every single day. And especially now in the fertility space, like I see that too. People going into, fertility clinics saying, I don't know why I'm getting pregnant. And they know their husband is drinking alcohol and sucking on a vape and, eating like garbage and doesn't exercise. And they're like, we have male factor infertility. And I'm like, well, what do you think is going to happen when you don't take care of yourself? So I see it from both sides. And unfortunately, it's created this dynamic in the medical field for doctors to just give the client what they want, like give the patient what they want. Like, clearly they're coming in here, they're both obese or they both have, health problems or whatever. They just want to get pregnant. Let's just put them on medicine. Let's put them down the pipeline. So it's become this like instant gratification from both sides. And it's become like a toxic relationship. Yeah.
That's a really interesting take. I think you're completely spot on with that. Like, there are absolutely people who are going in just hoping for a quick fix. I mean, we live in a world of quick fixes. And we think that that's like the solution and the best way to whatever you're trying to get. Like, God forbid we put a little bit of like self-accountability or work towards what we're trying to achieve. 100%. But I think what's challenging with that, and this is something that you and I were kind of discussing before we got all like mic'd up, is like, there are people who eat fast food, are overweight, on a bunch of medications, drinking like crazy, doing, smoking marijuana, doing whatever, and they do get pregnant.
Yeah.
And there's probably more people like that out there than there are people like you and I who are very attentive to our health and can't get pregnant. That there's this idea of like, then why should I care? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in some ways, like, I'm going to sound crazy, but there are times where I look back and I'm almost grateful that I got a hard hand of, like, because it has shaped me in so many ways and has allowed me to show up in my life as a woman and as a mother so much deeper, because I know what it feels like to struggle. I was not somebody who could just like F around and then get pregnant and be like, oh, whoops, like, cool. I actually had to learn what it takes to like get there, you know,
and learn like self-accountability too,
and I'm not saying that you have to experience that to then like have that type of mindset, but like
it does change you. Like, you can't explain it until you've gone through it. And I always find it like interesting when I have these conversations with women who maybe got pregnant easily the first time and then not so the second. They then see that shift and they're like, whoa, I am actually completely different now that I've gone through that infertility bucket, where it's like you're in that bliss for that first child. And you think, even if you've done all this work and you've taken the time and you did it intentionally, there is something about infertility and that waiting and the wisdom in that waiting and the accountability and literally figuring it out, that is such a fundamentally different experience than it just happening. And like, anyone who denies that has clearly never been through it. So you cannot explain it in any other way, because I officially will never know what it's like to just get pregnant and have a child. Right. Like, I'll never, even if I have my second easily, let's say, I still experienced the first. So I'll never not go into it with anxiety.
Shaped your, the lens that you view it.
100%. So it's like, especially, it's always interesting to see the opposite, like the easy one first and then the not so easy, because then you can literally say you've had both experiences and it is different. Like,
and that's me. And I will say what's interesting is it's almost spot on to what you're saying, but I had my first unplanned, like literally out of wedlock, like 6 months into an engagement. Every single factor was again, I mean, I don't want to say I was still healthy. I wasn't as like far down as I am now, but like,
could have been worse.
It could have been worse. Like, I was a competitive athlete, and now I know more than I did then, but like, I was healthy. with the knowledge that I had at the time. I conceived, and I actually had a lot of like anxiety and anxiousness and just like, in my motherhood. And my second, like after going through 2 years of like unexplained, and we could go into why I put air quotes around unexplained infertility, conceiving my second, I entered motherhood that time and I was so peaceful and I was so calm and I was so like, it was different because you had said, with the first, like you experience this bliss and then you go through challenge.
Yeah.
It was like motherhood was really hard and I had a lot of like resistance with it. But then once I experienced what it was like to not just enter motherhood because I want to, and my husband and I can't just go to the room and have an intimate moment and then create a baby together, like all of a sudden I fully understand what it takes to get to that moment and I will never take it for granted.
Oh, for sure.
Like the things that I would be stressed about with my first, I'm now like, who cares? Like I have a child, like, and this is such a blessing. And I am gonna just show up and roll with the punches and just enjoy this time that I have with her. Like the mind shift change that I had, like this
definitely
version
changes your gratitude and appreciation. Not to say that people who have children aren't grateful for them, but you can't, I feel like you can't say it doesn't deepen it to another level. Like when you have been denied something and you get it, versus it's like being like a nepo baby, kind of like when you're just given all these opportunities in life, like you kind of do take it a little bit for granted, and I think that's a really vulnerable thing to say, obviously, as a parent. Like no parent wants to say like I took this for granted or I took advantage of it. When you have that when you also experience infertility to some extent, you can reflect and be like, oh, I really didn't realize how much of a miracle this is, or like how grateful I am to just be able to conceive and see a pregnancy test and then have a child because of that pregnancy test. Like it really does deepen that gratitude. And like I said, it doesn't mean that women who have babies easily aren't grateful for their children, but there is a level of like, there is a different meaning when you had to work for it and you had to pray for it and you had to like do all these things. I have laundry lists of things that I've done to just manifest and like it's the things that you do, it takes you to really
desperation,
bad places sometimes. I look back at parts of me from like the first year we were trying, and my husband and I look back and we're like, wow, it got really ugly at one point, like really ugly, where you're like, is life worth living if I never have children? Will we be okay if we never have children? Like, will I ever have a little one running around to call me mom? Like, right? Will I only be an auntie in my life? Like all these scenarios that run through your head, where now I would do it in a heartbeat, like I would just tell people, 500 times over, like everything that you're going through right now is going to only deepen your relationship with pregnancy and having a child and et cetera, so that's what it comes down to, really, is, what it does to you.
Man, what a like crappy club that you and I are
no one wants to be part of this.
No one wants to be part of it.
I was actually talking to a close friend of mine who's also been going through infertility the same amount of time as me. And she was like, there's this like, like if you want a child, you want to be in the mom club, but then your mom friends would never want to be in your club, obviously, so it feels like you can only get into this club when you have a mom, and then you're kind of like isolated in this in between, like you're very much forgotten. When people see you, like, also I felt bad, like I commented, a friend of mine just announced that she was pregnant, and I just commented like, oh my god, congratulations, like we're not that close, we're like more social media friends, and I just felt bad that she felt like she had to respond and be like, I'm praying for you too, like I'm so grateful that people are acknowledging it, because like you don't have to,
right?
But then you also have like that double-edged sword where it's like, I'm so grateful that you acknowledged my pain that I could be probably experiencing from your pregnancy announcement, which it does sting. But then also like I feel bad that you're even having to think about me,
and it's this reminder too that like
I'm still
here.
I
am in that club, like yep, that's me, like I'm like, the only one
on that side of the fence.
And I'm the only one in your comment section where you're like, oh shoot, that probably kind of hurt her feelings.
Like my happiness is kind of like, and it's like you're never, upset for them, obviously. I would never want anyone to experience it, but there's just like so much about it that you're not just grieving not having a baby, you're grieving a lot of things, how people view you and just everything in between, your body, how your connection with your own body, your connection with your spouse, like, going through the system, everything it changes.
It runs really deep. And I kept kind of pondering this question, knowing that you and I would be talking like on this topic. could somebody like truly understand what it's like to experience infertility if they haven't experienced it firsthand?
No.
Yeah. And ultimately I say no.
There's nothing like it. There's truly nothing like it. Like, you can't explain it.
No.
It's kind of like experiencing postpartum. How do you explain postpartum to somebody?
Right. Yeah, who's never like
I'll have no
it.
idea. I can only imagine it's hard, but
Yeah.
I just have no idea. You know, any form of grief is really hard to explain to someone who hasn't experienced
well,
it.
and then even then, I'm like, I don't know, as somebody who works in that field and has had 2 postpartums myself, I'm like, postpartum can be very, very variable. Like, postpartum can be bliss. Postpartum can be really like earth shattering. It can be like everything in between. But like, infertility is one thing, and it's like devastation. Like, there's nobody's happy in infertility. Nobody's like, you know what I mean? Like,
I had a moment the other day. So like, I'll like we kind of spoke about this off camera, but I'm like, when you go through infertility, you're like watching time pass because people are getting pregnant and having their children,
and then the children are growing up,
and the children having first and second birthdays, all while in the time that you're just trying for a baby, and that's extremely difficult because you're physically watching time pass. And there was a moment that I had when like I saw someone who gave birth, and I was like, I wish I could be that happy, because I know they're in that bliss bubble right now that cannot be popped.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I knew they were happier than me. Like, I just know, like, you can always look on social media and assume people are happier than you.
Yeah.
But I know when you have a baby and that baby is in your arms, nothing beats it.
Yeah.
And like, I wasn't even sad that she had a baby or I didn't. I was jealous of the happiness that she was experiencing that I felt that I haven't yet.
Yeah.
Because I know how happy I'm going to be when that happens. But it was just that moment where I'm like, how do you explain to someone that you're jealous of somebody's happiness? Like, you just feel icky about it, but you know but you explain that to someone with infertility, they're like, yeah.
You're like, been there.
Yeah, I get you. I get that. 100. So it's like, it's so complex. I could write like,
I know,
a 20-page or, you know, bulleted list of all the things that you experience just grieving that in general.
Yeah, what it takes from you. I mean, like,
it takes everything.
The strain on your relationship with your partner.
Yeah.
The strain on like friendships. The strains just within your own family members. Like, the feeling of failure that like your body can't do something that everybody else's can.
That you're told as a woman is like your purpose.
Yeah.
And your one thing that you're supposed to do. And you're like, okay, well, what if it doesn't happen for me and I'm here trying?
You're like, what does that mean for me?
Yeah, what does that mean for me?
Then who am I? Like,
yeah, you have to like literally find yourself. And I think that's also going to make me, you know, I think a lot of women who are struggling with infertility, when they do become mothers, like, it just makes you a better mother in general, because you kind of do have no choice but to find yourself in that moment, you know, because it's a real thing to be like, what if I never become a mom? Who am I?
Yeah.
So it's really given me time to like think about who I want to be, not just, you know, if I do become a mom, what kind of mom do I want to be? What kind of children do I want to have? But like, who I am even without that, like, how do I define myself? Like, what am I doing in my life? How am I contributing to society and my village? And like, how do I show up as a person? I don't want to just be like, oh, that's the girl struggling with infertility, never became a mom, you know, like, that's sad. I don't want to walk into a room and people are like, oh,
yeah, oh, there she is. And like whispering behind your back,
like, oh, she could never have children. Yeah. Like, so sad.
I know.
Like, I want to have a full life regardless of that. And obviously if children come into the world, I want them to be adding to my life, not, you know, like, I'm already whole, you know, with them.
Honestly, good for you, Illie. Like, that's such a like strong thing to say. And that may sound simple to other women, but like, for myself, you're saying that and I'm feeling all kind of things in myself, because I'm like, but I want to be a mother.
Yeah. Like, I want that title.
Yeah. I have so much resistance to it, where I'm like, I know that I can do cool things and I can be somebody without it, but I want to be a mother. Like, I want that to be my title. Like, it's such a huge resistance thing for me. And one of the hardest parts with infertility is like, I was not willing to accept the idea that I couldn't have kids. Yeah. And that's something that you have to face. Like, you have to have that conversation with your partner. Like, what would our life look like if we never did? But I still can't. Like, obviously I have 2 kids now, but like, I don't want to only have 2 kids. And people will come at me and be like, you're so selfish. Like, you can't just be happy with what you have. But like, I've wanted to be a mom since I was a little girl. I literally in 8th grade decided I wanted to work with women birthing babies because I love it so much. I was like, that is the coolest thing to happen on planet Earth. Like, you cannot deny that. I'm going to do that for work, and I'm going to embody that, and that's going to be like my future. And then I got slapped in the face by infertility. And like, yes, I have 2 amazing, beautiful children, but like, I'm not content yet. I'm not done. And it's so upsetting that like, why do I have to, like, and it's hard, you know, to get into those self-deprecating thoughts, but like, why do I have to decide that I have to be done it too? And the whole world can tell me that I'm selfish for wanting more, but everybody else who's perfectly fertile can go and make whatever family size they want or don't want. And we're all like, oh, cool. Thumbs up. Good for you. You know?
Like even just things that get stolen from you is like planning your children around friends and like your friends having kids, and then planning like, oh, like I see people on social media, they're like, this is the best time to get pregnant.
The age gap thing.
I'm like, dude, I don't even have a choice. I wish I could just snap and be like, okay, I'm going to have a Taurus. Like, what? Like, what do you mean? You know, like I at this point, I'm like, I don't care what zodiac sign. I can't even plan for that, you know?
I used to say I literally wouldn't care if her baby came out purple and had like 3 heads. Like, I just want a baby.
Like, give me a specimen of sorts.
Like point, just something that like, you know.
Oh, I also made a post. I did a TikTok the other day talking about just like another simple thing that I kind of felt like envious about, where it's like when you see like most women, like even pregnancy announcements where they're like looking at their pregnancy test and they only feel happiness. And then you see a pregnancy test and you're like, I'm having a baby. And that's the thought that you have. Or it's like when you go through infertility or you've been touched by loss, you look at a pregnancy test and you go, I hope I'm having a baby. Like that test means null. Like it's void. That's cool. It's positive, but like, will I have a baby because this test is positive? That's up in the air, you know? And it's that alone, such a joyous, what should be such a joyous moment gets completely destroyed for you when you have experienced infertility and you have experienced loss. And it just, even that simple fact where it's like from day one, and someone had, obviously for me, like 2 years of infertility, there comes a point where you're just as excited to have a baby and you're also scared to try for one because you hope that a positive pregnancy test will equal a baby, you know? So you almost like hinder yourself in the process because you're scared of what the outcome is going to be, because you know that a big reality for women is, you know, they could have a miscarriage, they could have, you know, God knows what else, you know, but you just don't even want to think about that. But that's just kind of where your mind goes.
See, and I can speak even farther on that like it's the pregnancy test, but it's also the whole pregnancy. Like infertility robs the like joy of the pregnancy, because I spent so much of my pregnancy feeling disconnected, like not even like scared.
You don't want to get so attached.
You don't want to get attached because I'm convinced like my body can't do this. Like, so yes, now like I have a positive pregnancy test, even when you can like feel the baby move, and I would just sit on the couch and be like, I haven't felt her in an hour. And I'm like panicking. And then like, I literally had a Doppler because I work in women's health. So I took a Doppler home. I would have never done that. Like that, like Morgan 5 years ago would have looked at that and been like, you're a nut job. What are you doing? But I couldn't help it. Like it felt uncontrollable. This just like anxiety and like disconnection and fear. And then you feel so much guilt because you're like, but I have a baby and like she's there and I know she's there and I want to be connected to her and like have this experience with her. But instead I'm just like flooding her with anxiety and like just making her think that she shouldn't be there, you know? It truly, like infertility takes so much from you. And you will never understand it. And honestly, I'm happy for you. Like I hope you will never have to understand it or feel it if that's not your story.
100%. Like I look at people and it's like, as much as it's a complicated emotion, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I'm glad it's me. I feel like maybe I can handle it better. But then also there's days where I'm like, why was I chosen to handle this? You know,
why
like
me?
I don't feel like, people will be like, you're so strong. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, I do not feel strong. I just feel like I'm trying my damn best, and that might come off as strong to you. But like, no, I'm not gonna have a mental breakdown on social media, but like I've had a lot of those. It's hard. You know,
is hard.
You know, even now, like I had a couple weeks ago my laparoscopic endometriosis surgery to diagnose my unexplained infertility with something, and they ended up finding stage 1 endometriosis, a cyst partially blocking my cervix, a partially blocked fallopian tube, endometritis, and fibroids. So I had 5 things, even though I was told I had unexplained infertility and they had no idea what was wrong with me.
Yep.
And
this is 2 years in, so it's not like you hadn't done plenty of other testing.
I have a laundry list of functional testing, GI maps,
multiple
inflammation
doctors,
markers, molds testing, everything. Like, and my functional practitioner's like going through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and she's like, no, dude, like, none of this is making sense. You don't even have pain. You've been tracking your cycle for 4 years and it comes like clockwork. Like, none of this is making sense. And like, even with this surgery, like, I'm still, 3 weeks out ish, like a month out now, and you just have this, like, although I feel like I have an answer, it still doesn't promise you anything. So you're like, oh, cool, I'm going to get a fresh start. But you don't truly ever get a fresh start, because that it doesn't, negate the 2 years that you've been waiting. And then you're also not promised the child just because you had the surgery. Obviously, it increases my chances a lot. And I'm trying to hold on to that glimmer of hope. But it's such a crazy concept where it's like, you go in for like, your appendix gets ruptured, you go in for surgery, you get your appendix out, like, you're going to live a pretty good life because now your appendix is out. Like, you can pretty much guarantee that.
And there are no guarantees.
There's no guarantees with fertility treatments. You can do all the things.
You could go to the best doctor out there and pay top dollar, and there's still not a guarantee.
Yeah, like, you can go through IVF and there's still no guarantee. Like, you know how many people I know that had to abort IVF completely because they were on their 5th, 6th round, and they're like, I'm just not getting pregnant.
And they're $60,000 in debt. And
more, probably,
Yep. And just absolutely, like, obliterated emotionally and physically from the entire experience.
Yeah, so there's, like, and that's the thing with, they say that, like, infertility is so much like cancer because there's no guarantee that the treatments will work, right?
Oof.
Cancer won't say, like, you can't guarantee that you're going to be on the other side. And that's the same thing with infertility, is like, there's no guarantee. People can pray every day for you. Yeah. You can go through 500 procedures. You can do IVF. You can do everything. And it does not guarantee a child. Like, you are not promised a child. You are not owed a child in this world, So just knowing that, it's like, how do you console someone, when you can never be sure?
That was another thing that I was thinking about. Like, we were talking about, like, unsolicited advice, and there's plenty of that out there, but I'm curious what you think. For myself, I'm like, I honestly don't know if there's anything that somebody could say that makes me feel better. Obviously nobody can fix it, but, like, I'm not sure that there is, like, the perfect, like, if you were to write a post and be like, things to say to women going through infertility, like, what would you say?
Friends threw me, like, a little gathering before my surgery to, like, just celebrate the season that I'm in. And it pretty much went viral because you don't really see that a lot. And, like, they truly sat there. I mean, so they threw me, like, a surprise ceremony. I didn't know that they were going to do it. So essentially they got, like, some of my closest friends. They could have easily had, like, 30 people there, but they kept it, like, super intimate. It was like 6 of us. And they all got me something to, like, get me either through this journey or, like, a hope gift, so, like, a little stuffed animal. And then they each wrote me a card just talking about, like, me and, like, how I've impacted their life. Aww. And when I tell you, I was on cloud 9 leading up to my surgery just from watching them, like, hold me. Yeah. Like, that was so special. And, like, like, just seeing me and, like, hearing me out and, like, knowing that I can go to them for anything is obviously an amazing feeling. So, like, that's that. And then on the other side of it too is, like, will I always be the friend that they're grieving? Like, will I always be the friend that they're kind of,
they're throwing, like, a grieving
we
party
have to
for.
Kind of, like, and don't get me wrong, that was, like, the most special experience of my entire life, and I wish every woman could experience that in their infertility journey. But again, it's, like, these complex emotions that come up where you're just like, gosh, like, will they have to do this again in a year? Like, or do you just do one?
Or like, or do they just stop at some point?
Or like after a while, we're just like, all right, this girl just is dealing with it. And, like, like, you obviously you get insecure about your own journey. You get embarrassed. Like, that was another weird emotion that came up, is, like, I was embarrassed I'm, sometimes I'm really embarrassed to go through infertility. And obviously now, like, I have no choice because I talk about it so much on social media. So I'm like, I guess I'm sucking it up. Yeah. But, like, you get embarrassed. Like, again, like I said, like, showing up to events and people are like, oh. Yeah. Or, like
you're going to a baby shower and everybody's like,
I went to my friend's baby shower and, you know, I had a couple of my friends just like acknowledge that I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And like, obviously that's sweet. And then in the other sense of the word, like, I'm like, would I feel better if they didn't say anything? Or do I feel better if they did? Like, it's
like you almost want to just be treated normal too.
But then you're like, nothing about this is normal.
Exactly. Like,
so you're like in this limbo. Again, it's so difficult to explain unless you've gone through it. And yeah, there is no right or wrong. I think for me though, to kind of answer your question, is like, I'd rather it be acknowledged than not.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'd rather
than it be like the elephant in the room.
Yeah. Thing. Like, I rather somebody, like, even me commenting on my friend's post, I'm like, the fact that she took the time to acknowledge is like, wow, like, she is thinking of me, and that is really sweet, you know? So I think I'd rather that than get the advice of like, well, have you tried acupuncture? And I'm like, girl, I've been doing that for 2 years. Or like, have you
just
tried
get
a
drunk?
low-tox life?
Have you just gotten drunk? Have you ever just stopped trying?
A vacation? I'm like, geez, you want to see my passport?
You're thinking too much about it.
Yeah.
Have you ever just tried not being stressed?
The acknowledgement without the advice.
Yeah, without the advice.
Because the advice just, you want to strangle people, especially when you know, like, you're one of the healthiest people
in your circles,
probably know, like in your circle probably. And then you have like the outsiders of like, someone was like, did you get your husband checked? I'm like, 3 times, bro. Like, what are we doing here? Like, do a little research, you know? So yeah, I think the acknowledgement without the advice is the best way to approach it. And I think most people would say that, like, they don't want to just act like, you want to be treated normal and you don't want it to be overkill. Right. Like, all of my friends now, like, every couple of weeks, they'll just be like, hey, how are you doing? Like, is there anything new? Like, is anything progressing? Like, any new appointments? How are you feeling after your surgery? You know, like, things like that.
After 2 years of infertility and going through IVF, Jordan and I wanted to get a real look at what was going on in our bodies before trying to get pregnant again.
Yeah, because hearing your labs look normal doesn't mean much, when normal basically means half the country's tired and inflamed.
And trying to get full lab work through traditional doctors can take months or even years, and cost you thousands of dollars. Function Health makes it easy. No chasing referrals or waiting for permission to understand your own body.
With Function, you get over 100 lab markers all at once, and they don't just give you numbers, they tell you what each result means, why it matters, and show you the difference between normal and optimal.
A clinician actually reviews all your labs and gives you a detailed, personalized report on what to adjust in your diet, lifestyle, and supplements. It's like finally getting a translation for what your body's been trying to tell you.
And the coolest part, you get a second blood draw included in your one-time fee to track your progress. Because apparently, healing doesn't happen in one appointment.
If you've ever felt dismissed or brushed off, or you just want to take control of your health before pregnancy, or ever, we can't recommend Function Health enough.
You can use the link in our show notes to sign up, and when you do, you're helping support our podcast and the mission behind it, empowering families to think critically, live intentionally, and refuse the normal.
Well, if you're willing, let's maybe talk just a little like nitty gritty. I think that there's always something to take just from like raw organic conversation. But you and I have like been through the systems quite a bit. So if somebody is maybe listening and there's somebody who is wanting to have kids someday, maybe knows that there's some factors that could be working against them, are currently in the thick of it, whatever it may be, or maybe just like have a close loved one who's going through it, let's kind of like, I don't know, let's kind of walk through like the journey. Yeah. So I mean, like with infertility, this bothers me a lot. I imagine you probably feel similar, but the like clinical definition is like 6 months to, you know, a year of trying without success, depending on your age and all that. I personally really disagree. I 100%. Think that when you're like 3 months in and you haven't gotten a positive test yet, start like looking into things. Don't go crazy. Don't go down the rabbit hole. Do not go to an IVF clinic or a fertility specialist, but start like making some lifestyle change. Personally, do that 6 months before you even start trying to conceive. But, you know, if that's not an option for you at this point, like I would start looking into things now personally, because time is of the essence. And like, I see so many people who get to like 8-10 years into an infertility journey. Time goes by really quick. Yeah. You know, and you get one chance every month to try to make it happen. It's not like we're getting handed multiple chances a month. So it starts kind of early on. Then once, let's say somebody's like now at the 1 year mark. Yeah. I feel like commonly people would go to a fertility specialist.
Yeah, which is exactly what I did.
Same. Yeah. Well, no, I didn't go until we were 2 years in.
Okay. Wow.
I was doing like everything else opposite, because I knew like working in the field that I work in, I didn't want to go to IVF. Like, I was honestly pretty anti IVF because I felt like it was glazing over my health and my husband's health. Like, I felt that if we weren't conceiving, that was our bodies telling us we needed like attention, we needed help.
sure. Yeah.
And that's where my like big low tox stuff started, was there. Like, after 6 months to a year not getting pregnant, I'm like, well, shoot, like, we got to make some changes. And that's where I went off the deep end, honestly.
Into that world. No, mine has been like, so far I've done like 4 years of, it feels like preconception prep. So like we started 2 years before we started trying. So I did like routine GI map, Dutch test, mycotoxin test.
Why do you think you were doing that? Did you think that you would struggle?
No, I just like wanted to be like
as optimized.
Yeah, like I was, because I also know you can't detox while you're pregnant. So I was like, if I need to detox, I'd rather do it now. Like if I have mold or like anything that I thought, and like especially I know like how important mineral deficiencies and things are, and I've always struggled with like borderline stress that just depletes me and stuff, and also like suboptimal thyroid, because my mom had thyroid issues her whole life. So I was more like thinking genetics wise. I'm like, I want to set myself up where I'm just like the most resilient version of myself. So I wasn't thinking, I thought I was gonna just be superwoman.
One would think.
Yeah, I was like building my defense at this point. So I really did it out of that. And I think also like a lot of my content, I was like, I've always want people to be proactive, right? So I wanted to give myself time. So yeah, we did 2 years of preconception prep where my husband did a sperm test, like all the things. And we pretty much got the okay from my functional practitioner. She's like, honestly, like everything looks really good. You guys can start trying. And like, no joke, like I remember even going back to my testing, because I save everything. I'm like, yeah, everything did look really good. But you know, these low grade inflammation just wasn't showing up on my stuff, you know? So when we officially started trying, it was like a year until, I mean, obviously after a couple months, panic starts to ensue. And I remember going in August, like we started trying in like March, April, and then we went in August because I'm like, okay, maybe I have a progesterone problem, maybe something else. So I remember going to my OBGYN and she's like, well, you need 3 miscarriages for us to like do anything. And I was like, that kind of feels like a lot. And it also feels counterintuitive because if you're telling me you're probably just stressed, but then you're forcing me to go through this trauma before ever getting care,
3 of them,
it's like what does that mean? You know, like that, I feel like that's not even rooted in science. If you're going to tell me like stress is why you're not getting pregnant, and then you make me go through something stressful, like hello. So that didn't sit right with me. So then we pretty much just kept trying on our own for the next 6 months after that. And then finally, after the year mark, I'm like, I guess we'll just go to an IVF clinic. Cause like, what else? Like, what are other options? You know, like I've never heard of like NaPro or any of these things. So I was like, I don't really know what to do. So I went to an IVF clinic, and we were really considering just doing like low IUI or something like that. Like IVF wasn't an option for us. So after they did all their scans, which like, I think this is where people kind of get manipulated that aren't in the wellness space or aren't in the functional space. Like their testing feels way more like thorough,
extensive.
Their testing, like going to a fertility clinic after going to an OBGYN feels extensive. You're like, wow, they did sperm, they did an HSG, they did genetic testing, and they did my TSH. And you're like, they checked, like they really checked. And because of me, I was like, me being me and doing functional labs for 4 years before that, like 4 years.
You're like, what do you mean you don't need to take 25 vials of blood? Like you're only taking 2?
You're checking my TSH, but not my antibodies? Like, why? Especially since we know, like, thyroid causes, like poor thyroid causes miscarriage, all these things. And I was like, and just looking at my husband's sperm, but then like not looking at his lifestyle, like, what do you mean?
Well, because I think the problem with IVF clinics, and this is where maybe it gets confused, is they're called like fertility specialists, right? But they're not trying to get you pregnant naturally.
No, that would be,
and that's the
against
confusion.
The model.
Yeah, exactly. That's the confusion, is people think if I go to this fertility specialist, they're going to help me get pregnant. Yes, but they're going to help you get pregnant through in vitro fertilization or IUI. Like they're going to use their model to get you pregnant, because then you are a client of their practice.
Yes, like
if you go and get pregnant on your own, they lost a customer. Like, so they're not, they're testing the markers to ensure that you are a good candidate for their way to get you pregnant.
Bingo. And that's exactly it. I can't even tell you how many comments I've gotten since my surgery of people being like, my IVF clinic wasn't, they did extensive things. They did extensive testing. And then I'm like, oh, so did you get pregnant naturally? They're like, no, I ended up doing IVF. I'm like,
exactly.
So then what was the point of the testing if they were just going to put you down the pipeline anyway?
It was extensive testing to make sure you can get pregnant with IVF because it's all about statistics in the IVF clinic. They need to have high pregnancy rates, not birth rates, pregnancy rates, because that's how they get better funding and better whatever, better research. Like that's what the IVF clinics are built upon. So they need to make sure that you are a good, and if they see things that aren't right, they're going to go make them right so that you will get pregnant with IVF. Not to go, like, the worst enemy of an IVF clinic is somebody who goes to the IVF clinic, goes through all this stuff, and then like just happens to conceive naturally before they go in for like an IVF cycle.
100%.
That's the worst enemy of an IVF clinic. But people think that like IVF is there to help us like get pregnant.
Not naturally.
No. And that's why it took us 2 years to get there, you know? And so I want to kind of, let's like go down the IVF rabbit hole a little bit, because here I am talking on this soapbox, but like I conceived my baby through IVF, you know? Like, let's talk about the nitty gritty of, I think that like medically, is there a time and place for IVF? Maybe.
Yeah, I think structural issues that can't be, like, I know people with like, they've had both of their tubes removed.
Yeah.
There's no other way, right?
Yes.
And again,
that's also kind of what IVF was created for.
Yeah.
Like,
and genetic issues. Like, I have friends that are in the wellness space that have done it like immediately because they have genetic issues that they don't want passed down.
Yeah.
Which again, that's why IVF was created. But like, even with the tube thing, is I learned through my surgery is that IVF and endo surgeons are usually more incentivized to just remove the tubes if they're blocked because IVF,
right?
Where a NaPro surgeon, their whole goal, like IVF is not on the table for NaPro, because they're like Catholic doctors and they do it for like morality reasons, but kind of by default, it's made them a little bit more holistic, kind of in a way. So like that's why people were shocked when they're like, oh, your doctor unblocked your tube, and I'm like, yeah, didn't your doctor? They're like, no, they just removed it. I'm like,
I know.
That's because IVF is so much easier and they're more incentivized
and more profitable.
Yes, and apparently insurance companies like won't cover a recanalization, which is what it's called when you unblock a tube. And insurance companies will cover organ removal. So if you're removing an organ like that, like your tube, your fallopian tube, insurance will cover it.
Yeah.
So that's why it's better for the insurance companies and the doctor to just remove an organ.
Makes sense.
Which makes them want to do IVF. Some people are like, I had to do IVF because I had my tubes removed, and I'm like, well, unfortunately, that makes sense.
Yeah,
because
you were on the conveyor belt that was feeding
on
you
purpose. A lot of time, I guess, unless it's like beyond repair. But NaPro surgeons are considered like the plastic surgeons of the uterus is their nickname, because they're just trained to do these very skilled surgeries to like go in and remove these like in these very intricate areas.
Yeah. Well, and you know what's hard is like, so I knew about NaPro before we went to IVF, and we actually worked with a NaPro. She was a midwife, which I thought was kind of cool.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, she was a CNM, which is certified nurse midwife, and then worked in a NaPro clinic underneath. And I cannot think of his name right now, but he's one of the like top researchers for NaPro. They're out of
Omaha?
Utah.
Oh, Utah.
We were in Nevada, and there was nothing in Nevada.
Yeah.
There's like nothing. Nevada in general
There's
is
like less than like 30 of these doctors in the United States.
Yeah, in general. Yeah.
They're like not a lot.
Yeah. And I think that that's the part that this is where it becomes kind of layered and even more challenging for people like us, is that you also have to think about accessibility. And like, people forget that like we are not just walking in fertility. I also at that time was a mom to another daughter. I was working at a birth center. I was running my own business as a lactation consultant.
Yeah.
I was like then homeschooling. Like I had so much on my plate that I had to attend to. I could not just like put my life on the back burner 100%. So that I could be full time into traveling to these doctors and doing the procedures and doing all the things. Like, and yes,
I know I flew to Missouri for my surgery because there's like none in Florida.
Yeah.
And it's like, I knew that I can only do that now because I don't have children that I can just grab and go and do all these things. Like, I'm very grateful that like 2 years of infertility, we've kind of been putting money to the side because we're like, we might have to do, you know?
Yep.
So it's like, thankfully it went in this direction, but yeah, I understand. I'm trying to like advocate so much that more of these doctors, a lot of them went, I'm learning also a lot of them have gone just back to gynecology because people don't know about them or they're being held back by insurance. So like our medical system is just like
drives everything.
Is just hurting this industry. And I'm trying to I'm hoping that through just advocacy and people sharing their stories, they'll start to kind of come out of hiding and just open up their practices again. But yeah, it's the accessibility thing is huge, and it breaks my heart truly.
Because everybody talks about the money thing a lot.
Yeah.
IVF is very, very, very expensive. And these NaPro options are typically more affordable for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
but there's more layers
way more
to it.
Affordable.
But there's more layers to it than the financial, you know. I'm somebody where I'm very like real with all these things because I never want to come off like I know better or I can like make these intimate decisions for families.
These are the level-headed discussions like my whole like that we need, obviously, and I actually find it to be a much more interesting conversation when someone has done something because maybe they just didn't know better, they didn't know their options or whatever, and then they're like, wait, that actually wasn't quite right, and like now we can talk about it in this way where there are people who will do not necessarily the wrong thing but go into something where they didn't do their research, and then upon learning more information they'll just continue to defend and defend and defend and defend, and I see people do this all the time, and that pisses me off more than people are like, yeah, I did IVF and like I just didn't know. And like, if I could go back, I would have done this or looked into this. And now I want to advocate for like something different. Like I'd rather that than people just defend it because they did it.
Yeah.
And
well, it's the brainwashing. That's what's hard is like all of it's going to brainwash
like
you.
IVF gave me my babies. And it's like, okay.
It's the same dialogue in the birth world. And I always go back to that because that's just what I'm like passionate about. But it's the same concept of like, my doctor delivered my baby.
Yeah.
No, you delivered your baby and your doctor was there. Like you are the one who's doing this. You know, it's this concept where as women, we just hand our power over to the person in the white coat all the time. There's a time and place for it. Don't get me wrong. Like I've needed medical care in that system before
like my
in my
doctor
life. Like,
doing my surgery, I'm like, he's the first doctor that I put my 100% of my trust into, and he delivered.
And he did,
you know, and I'm like, I'm so grateful for him now because I've had such bad medical trauma with my gynos and all different types of professionals of just dismissing me and not listening and etc. And like one conversation, my first consult with him, me and my husband were on the call together, and we both got off the call. We're like, wow, that's a doctor. Like, holy crap. I've never had that experience. And now since talking about my surgery and people also seeking out NaPro, they're like, holy crap, the conversations in the first hour completely different. You know, I spent 10 minutes at my IVF clinic before she's like, IVF's your only option. Meanwhile, I had 5 different things going on. You know?
Yep. So the NaPro route then, for us, like our experience was challenging because everything was over Zoom initially. And my experience was kind of upsetting. Like I had researched NaPro and I was so like on board with it. It was like, this is the direction we're going to go. I know too much about IVF and I don't want to go that direction. NaPro like feels right for us. Find this provider. We get set up. We do Zoom. She runs some labs. She does some things that like nobody else had done for me yet. So I'm like feeling pretty good. Yeah. And I'm an RN, like I have medical licensing, like I'm doing the research. I'm like doing all the things myself on the side. And then finally we get some answers from stuff. And then she's like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and prescribe you a thyroid medication and metformin.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like,
I'm like,
still I don't want medication. Like, I think you're confusing like why I'm here. Like I will do the work. I'm not somebody who like feels like I need a medication for an instant fix. Like I want to be healthy. I don't like, what about metformin and thyroid in pregnancy? Am I going to wean off these medications and then not have them? And then when I get off, like once I have my baby, am I then going to have to get back on medication? Is this a lifelong thing? Like,
I have questions.
I'm a long-term thinker. I'm not here for instant, like, you know, instant results. So that like really turned me off, but I was still kind of like 1 foot in. So then I ended up like doing a ton of research on like thyroid and blood sugar and figured all of that out. And then like went back and got my labs and everything was great. And I was like, hey, what do you know? I didn't need those medications.
I think one thing I had to also remind myself, because again, like I had endometritis and like the protocol is antibiotics. And for me, I'm like, if I can avoid it, I can. But I'm always also reminding myself at the end of the day, these are like they're conventionally trained doctors in the sense of they went to medical school.
Mhm.
And it's like what they know is what they know, where it's like if I wanted holistic, like
Yeah.
unfortunately medical and holistic and
Are not.
NaPro don't exist.
Yep.
And like, so I had to also remind myself of that. Like there is a level of medicine
Mhm.
that you're going to probably come across even working with a NaPro. And I
Yep.
think a lot of people think that just because they're not going to go the IVF route,
That it's
like
gonna
I had to
suddenly
do
be
surgery. Surgery is very, very Western medicine, you know,
Yep.
like at the
an
end of the day,
invasive procedure.
it's invasive. I had to take antibiotics now, like all these things. Like they're not going to be like, all right, take these herbs. You know, I remember
Right.
messaging my doctor because he's like, all right, the one thing I did appreciate, he was like, you're going to do antibiotics and you're going to take a vaginal suppository probiotic
Amazing.
and oral probiotic, which I've been on antibiotics multiple times in
Nobody's
my
ever
early
really
20s,
gonna,
and nobody's like, take a probiotic.
Uh-huh.
Like, no, just destroy your gut health.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that, but I remember one of them coming back and I'm like, I don't really like these ingredients. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, you're like holistic.
Yeah.
Like, let me find something else for you.
Uh-huh.
You know, so he's like, that's not his world. And I
Totally.
sometimes forget that just because they're not doing the other medical things, that they're not like functional or they're not holistic in the sense they're going to like try to cure your endometriosis with herbs. Like they believe in surgery, they believe in medicine. There's just a limit to that.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I think what you say is really, really important because when we did go to the IVF route, I like took that knowledge with me.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what IVF was.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what their model was, what the system was, and what to expect. So there was no disappointment. Like I knew what the care was
you're
going to
I
be
know what
like.
I'm signing up for.
Yeah, like I knew exactly what I was signing up for. So I think what you're saying is really, really, really powerful that on both sides of the spectrum, like holistic and not, like that you go into whatever model you're going and you know that box
What you're
that they
signing
are.
up for, yeah. And I just think it's like that idea that because IVF isn't on the table for them, people think that they're going to just like throw herbs at you. And I've had people say, don't go to the surgery. Like I took this supplement and it reduced my end. I'm like, girl, I'm getting this out of me. Like I took a Valium before my surgery.
Yeah.
Like holistic healthily is not in the room right now. Like I'm getting this out of my body.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the damn antibiotics
Yep.
and then I'm going to do everything else that I know I need to do to get pregnant in the meantime. You know, like
See, and
there's a level.
It goes right back to what we were saying in the beginning. Like nobody can understand what it's like to go through infertility and these intimate, challenging decisions that we have to make as
and then
women.
You're being judged by people who are like, I would have never done that.
Yeah,
and
you
I'm
can
like,
never
I don't
do it.
care what you would have done.
You could never do
know?
it right. You'll never
Especially
do
for
it
me.
right.
I think people were really upset when I said, like, so IVF is not on the table for us at any point. I just have a lot of issues with it. And I'd rather accept, like, maybe having the title mom may not be for me if it really is that hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I've watched friends go through IVF and it takes a lot from you. And yeah, I have like a lot of reasons why IVF isn't for me. And I think people were really upset with that decision because for a lot of women, that's always an option. Like, why wouldn't you, if you could, why wouldn't you? And I think for me, it's like a moral thing that I also have too, because I think you said like, you're someone who would like a lot of children, right? And for me, I always had this idea that I would have 3-4 children, where now it's looking like I'm happy if I have one, maybe two, you know? And I think for me, because I have a healthy AMH, that they'd probably get a lot of eggs from me, and I'd have a lot of embryos that I might not be able to use
and the
at
ethical,
in
like,
the time frame that I want to use them.
Yep.
And that's like I've gone through enough grief that I don't want to make those decisions in my life. And I don't think enough people think about that. Like that for me, the sacrificing multiple embryos to have one is not a decision that I want to make. And that's like a really deeply intimate decision that it just feels right for my husband and I. And not everyone has to agree with that. Like you can do it if you want, you know?
Like people get so like triggered because if you say IVF isn't for you,
people are like, what do you mean? You just don't want it bad enough? And I'm like,
well, and then they're like,
I don't want to have to go. Like, I think it's so normalized to, as a mother or as a woman, to sacrifice your health, your well-being. It's so normal to do that. It's like, why wouldn't you go to the end of your own health? Like, women have developed cancer doing IVF.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, like, do I really want to continue to put my body, the one body that I've been given, through the ringer? Like, I live a whole life, you know, and of course I'd love to be a mom. And if, you know, the universe grants me that, that's amazing. But at the end of the day, it's like, how far, like, if you how far are we willing to go?
Right.
And there needs to be, for me, there needs to be a line in the sand for my health, for my sanity, for my body. I know I've worked really hard to get where I've gotten when it comes to my health, and I don't want to force anything in my life. And that's just me personally. And people are really offended.
Yeah, because it's like
that.
threatening to them almost, where
Yeah.
they're like, oh, well, she's better than me because she whatever.
Yeah,
like,
not
like,
at
it's
all.
This, like,
I think if you go through it and you are willing to do it and you can muster up that type of courage,
yeah,
by all means. I'm not strong enough for that. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I've been through enough, and yeah, I just have like a very, from a morality standpoint, I have like a line in the sand for myself.
Yeah.
But then also it's like, I mean, as like a woman, I don't need to become a martyr to be a mother. You know, I don't have to put my health on the line to be deserving of motherhood, you know? And I think that's a big thing we don't think about enough, because you even see women, you know, that are mothers with multiple children, and it's so normalized to not care for yourself. It's so normalized
oh my god,
to be like, oh, so what? I'm tired. So
Yep.
what? I have painful periods.
Yep.
So what? Like, my mom's 50 years old. She needed a complete hysterectomy because she lived in pain her whole life.
Well, it's that
Is that normal?
It's
No.
this culture of like coffee for breakfast, messy bun, haven't showered in 3 days, and like that's what's like cool. Like that's what moms
like,
do.
I don't want to have to do all of that to earn motherhood.
Yeah.
I want it to become, I deserve effortlessness in some capacity to be a mom, you know? And I want to live my life like that. And if I have to force it so hard, I don't want it.
Yeah.
You know? And I think we should think about that in every aspect of our lives, relationships, careers, right? Like, we wouldn't tell somebody work harder for that job. You know, we would never say that. But for motherhood, for some reason, a woman's health gets just like, so what? It's hard.
Yeah.
That's what you do to be a mom. And I just don't believe it needs to be that difficult.
Yeah.
You know, at least for me, like, I've already gone through a hard time. I'm like, I'd rather make peace with the fact that I'll be a great auntie and I'll have so much joy and peace in my life than, you know, go through that. And God knows what would happen. You know, even now looking back at a year ago, if I did go through with IVF and I didn't, go through the NaPro, I had a cyst blocking my cervix. I had endometritis. I have all this inflammation in my uterus. I have a blocked fallopian tube. I probably would have had a couple miscarriages under my belt right now.
Yeah.
Was that really worth it?
Yeah.
You know?
And could still not have a baby at the end of it.
And still not have a baby at the end of it.
More traumatized.
And then everyone's like, well, at least you tried. Like, no, babes, I almost died trying.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and have like these, you know, long lasting side effects from the whole thing.
Exactly. So I just have a different mindset about it now, 2 years deep into infertility. But again, a year ago, me was really ready to do it. So
I know.
It's hard to say at different stages. Yeah. But yeah, I think a lot of things guided me to this point and made us make this decision now that I probably wouldn't have made those same decisions a year ago. So it definitely changes you. And these are combos that you wouldn't normally have if you got pregnant easily, you know?
The fact that we can sit here for an hour and have this like long...
Yeah, and we're like just tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, we're like not even like... that's what's so crazy about it, is like what it does to your entire existence.
Yeah,
as a
your
human
psyche
being.
and everything. It changes everything.
It changes everything. Well, so something that like, I don't know, I guess we'll bring it back like personal, but so my husband and I are now trying and we want to like conceive naturally this time, which is like absolutely mind-blowing to people.
You're like, what?
Yeah, like we spent $35,000 to like conceive our baby, and like,
it's like nerve-wracking.
What do you mean you're not just gonna like go back to that system? And like we have it there, and we, you know, it is kind of nice to know it's there, but like
also it's nice to know that it's there and that it did work.
Yeah, and like exactly, for sure.
So you're like, okay.
But it's one of those things where like I still am battling that like we made that decision and we went that direction, but it went against like I didn't necessarily want to.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm listening.
Almost puts like again, that decision to do IVF is almost like a cornered decision.
It is.
Because you're like, where else do you go?
And I had this additional layer where like, again, like infertility is personal, right?
Yeah.
Like I had this internal problem where I had a daughter and I was watching her get older and older and older, and I separated from her dad, and so I felt like she lost that. Then we moved in with my parents during COVID, and then my dad got terminal cancer and died, and she lost him.
Yeah.
And now I felt like it's literally going to make me emotional because I felt like I couldn't then give her a sibling. I was like, what can I give her in this world? Like, and she's my everything. I want to give her everything under the sun, and I failed her in every single category. Like I had this additional layer, and then I have one brother, and we're 5.5 years apart, and we have no relationship, and I craved it my whole life. It's literally the reason why I want a big family, because my family was not there. Like there are still really dark challenges in my family.
Yeah.
And then I lost my dad, like one person that I had that like held me together in my family, that I was like, I need to give that to my child. And then watching her turn 5 and I still haven't given her a sibling. I'm like, and now if we ever do get pregnant, I'm giving her the same age gap that me and my brother have, and they're never going to have a relationship. And now I'm on the other side and I have this different perspective.
They're like besties.
Yeah, and
they're
like
so
wisdom,
cute.
and you just feel kind of silly and you feel kind of guilty because I let these like internalized fears get the best of me to where I was so desperate that I would do whatever it took to get that baby. And then listening to you, you have this wisdom that I don't even think you fully understand.
And I don't
Like how much
I'm just,
wisdom
like,
you
doing what I
have.
can.
No, but truly, like you have such powerful wisdom, and I'm so grateful that you shared it in this space. And I hope it reaches the people who need to hear it. Like people like myself who were sitting there. Like I remember the moment my husband and I chose IVF. We were standing on the beach in Lake Tahoe under the stars, and we both just broke down. And we're like, we're done. Like we're just all done. We were so burnt out. We were so fatigued. But we weren't ready to give up.
Yeah.
But like
and you're like, what are my options?
Yeah, like what do you do? Yeah. And it felt like we had done everything, and this was the only thing left. And it felt really exciting at first, and then immediately it was like, but this still isn't a guarantee. And what happens if this doesn't? Like, and we made it, and now I'm on the other side of it, and now I'm like, now what do I do? Because I'm not done having babies. Like, at least I don't want to be done.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that is our story, and I'm older and wiser, and I can make more peace with it now. But like, we want to try again. And now, like, I kind of want to do it different, but now I feel like I'm stuck in this really weird place. And I think this is one of the parts of infertility that people forget about. They think that once you see the positive pregnancy test, things go away. Once you have the baby, things go away. Once the baby turns 1, things go away.
Like the infertility.
No, it's always there. And now, like you're saying, maybe 1 or 2 babies. But what happens when you get to the second? Like, now we're stuck
I think about that all the time because I'm like, we really wanted, like, Matt has more siblings than I do. I just have myself and my brother. We have a 3-year age gap, and we're very close. And then my husband has 3 siblings, and like they're not as close. So it's like I always thought I wanted this big family, and that it just automatically means closeness. When it's like obviously that's not true. So for me, it's like really changed my perspective on like I need to do like if I have to force it because of my own because of what I want, that's like a very worldly desire that I'm not owed, you know, like no one's owed children, right? That's not like a life contract, right? Like, and we don't know our life contracts, right? Like we don't know what we will have or we won't have, right? Like some people are meant to have 15 kids and regardless of their health, regardless of how many C-sections, regardless of, you know, whatever. And then some people aren't, right? And you don't know which one you're going to be. You just know that you're going to go through this life and you're going to be given one of those, right? And for me, it's just like, I've really been trying to anchor myself and like, I will get what I'm owed in this contract, right? Like what I'm destined to have, whether it's 5 boys and 5 girls or 1 boy or 1 girl or 2 children, one of each. I don't know. I really don't know, but I know that I won't force anything that doesn't feel good in my heart 100%. Even if that means accepting none of it. And that's I'm not saying that as of like, you know, it's like, I'm going to grieve that if that's my life, right? I'm going to grieve that probably for a very long time. But I know I won't have any regrets going against my moral compass and going against my integrity because I know that I was also given that type of that's like part of me. That's my integrity is all you have. You can't buy your way out of it. And like, I don't know. I just always think like, what type of person would anyone be in any capacity if you're like, I'll do anything to get this one thing? And it's like, define anything. You know, like what does anything look like? Is anything trading your health for this outcome?
There's always sacrifice.
There's always a sacrifice, and no matter what you do, you know. So that's just kind of how I see it. And again, that's not me saying it from like my high horse. I'm saying that from an area that I know I'm going to grieve, and it's going to affect me deeply for the rest of my life if I won't be a mother. But then also there's like a sliver of me that just thinks that won't be a possibility. Like, right? Like I do believe, and that's hard to kind of think of, but I do believe in my heart, like I'm going through all of this because I will be a mom one day, you know, like
Yep.
there is also a part of me that doesn't see a life
Yeah,
where
like
I wouldn't be.
yeah,
Right. Like
yep.
it's hard to explain those two
Uh-huh.
things, but that's genuinely how I feel. And yeah, like I think it will happen for me. Who knows? We might look back at this podcast and be like, that's crazy, you know?
Yeah.
So you just never know.
But I mean, you're coming from such a space of wisdom, and honestly, like, it's wisdom that you can only carve out of the trials of infertility.
100%.
Like,
Yeah, I wouldn't think this way if I didn't go through it. I would just be like, la, 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 la,
Yeah.
and it's fine, you know? Like
Yeah.
sometimes I'm like, ignorance is damn bliss.
yeah, it is.
And I wish I could just be on La La Land with other people, but I'm not on La La Land.
Yep.
I'm somewhere else.
Yep.
I'm on realistic land, and
Yep.
it's not very fun, but we're learning and we're here. So
Yeah.
you have to make the best decisions for yourself. And I think we also have to realize, like, we are our own people and our own individuals, you know? So we all have our own path and our own purpose, and like we still matter regardless of our titles, you know,
Yep.
and like how we're going to impact the world. Maybe this is it. This is my story. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
this is what I was put on earth to do, is to be advocate for like these women who need to make these hard decisions, or,
Mhm.
you know, maybe I get that and I get to be a mom. I don't know. Right.
Yeah. I mean, the story is unwritten.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the thing is, like, it's always unwritten.
Yeah.
Every milestone that you hit and you get the thing that you think you've always wanted, there's still going to be more trials after that. And that's
in every
just life.
capacity of your life, like
Yep.
not just, you know, parenthood, but like career,
All of
and
it.
relationship,
Everything.
yourself. Yeah.
All the way to the grave.
100%. Yeah.
Yep. Well, can you share a little bit for anybody listening where we can find you, what you're up to, what's in store?
Yeah, I'm just rolling with the punches here. You guys can find me on Instagram, on TikTok too. At LiveHealthIllie, just share a lot of, you know, just life, getting healthier, how to live healthier. I also wrote a children's book called Yummy Colors, helps kids find out the benefits of fruits and veggies based on their color. So super fun.
That's cool.
And then I also own LiveHealthIllie, which is a storefront for non-toxic products. We have like over 600 different products and growing. That's like my baby. And then my baby product on LiveHealthIllie is Minerals and Chill, which is a powdered adrenal cocktail. Really is just the best thing for stress, adrenals, hydration, immune support, skin support because of the vitamin C. All real ingredients, no stevia, only organic monk fruit. Just super clean.
Yep.
It's my
It's
passion project, but we love
Cleanest
it.
one on the market.
It's
'Cause
amazing.
I
worked really hard on that.
Yes.
It was a nightmare working with manufacturers that are like, just add flavoring. I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
So yeah, real freeze-dried fruit we use in our 2 new flavors, and then we use extracts, fruit extracts in our others because they're like lemon, lime, or orange.
Yeah, you crushed it.
Yeah, thank you. So
Crushed it.
that's everything that I do. I do a lot, so I'm busy.
Yeah.
I'm busy bee, but yeah.
Yeah. And you can't leave out that you are also sharing the intimate
Oh yeah,
parts
I'm
of
an open book.
Yep, the highs and the lows and all the things on your socials as well. And I
Yeah.
think that what you're doing is really important. And like you said, I definitely believe no matter what, like, this next chapter looks for you, this is part of your story.
100%.
Like, there's no
as
denying
sucky
that.
as it is, I'm like,
Yep.
it's like feels wrong in like the sense of like bad things shouldn't happen to good people,
Yeah.
but it feels right in the sense of like the right people can carry the message.
Yep.
Right. Like
Exactly.
it's such a weird dynamic because it's like feeling gratitude in such grief is like so difficult. But this is obviously like the first pod I've been on where I actually got to share like the emotional side of it. I feel like I'm always asked about like the clinical side of like, what testing did you do to get, you know, where it's like to actually talk about these parts is like really what women need. And we're obviously in 2 like different seasons of life where it's like you have, you know, 2 beautiful daughters and like you're on the other side of infertility. And I know you're going to start trying again, but yeah, it's just like me waiting to be a mom where it's like you've experienced infertility while being a mother, which is such a different it's still painful,
a different hard.
Yeah, it's a different type of hard, but like infertility is infertility and it just sucks either way. And it's just nice to talk with someone who like gets it, even though I'm like sad that we've even known what it's like. But like these are the types of conversations I wish people would just have more of with their friends in different seasons. Like you don't need to both be going through it to just hear the other out, you know, and the world would just be a much softer place in general.
Yeah, why can't we have had like a podcast about like acne or something? Like,
Yeah.
oh, you've had acne too?
Yeah,
Me too. Let's talk about acne. Like, ooh. Yeah, that's how it started. You guys thought that's where we were gonna go.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, I do just want to say one thing in case anybody, I don't know, hears it and is like, that's kind of a cool idea. Have you heard of the term blessing way?
Blessing way?
A blessing way.
Oh, I don't know.
Or a mother blessing.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
Okay,
yeah.
maybe like that.
Yeah.
I think my friend's having one, like a baby shower. Like,
it's actually from like Navajo culture.
oh, wow.
But it's kind of like an alternative to a baby shower.
Okay, yeah, my friend's having what is she called?
A mother blessing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
so
she's calling
blessing way is like the technical term, and then I feel like mother blessing has become kind of the like modernized term of it, I guess.
Makes sense.
But so I used to facilitate them, and I had one with both of my daughters. But essentially, it's like rather than having a baby shower where it's all about the baby and you're coming and bringing gifts to shower the baby, it's about the mom, and it's not like you don't bring gifts, and then you create it to be whatever way you want. So, like for example, with my first daughter, I ended up having a scheduled C-section at the very end of my pregnancy because she was breech, and there was not a single provider who could deliver breech. Unless I wanted to drive 2 states away in labor at 23 years old with my first child. Like
You're like, no.
Yeah, like that's actually really terrifying.
Not doing that.
Yeah. So I had a scheduled C-section and I was really, really grieving that. So we like centered my blessing way around that. Like I wrote down all my fears and we literally burned them in a fire. And like my mom came and braided my hair like she did when I was a little girl, and my grandma like painted my nails and
instantly healed.
Yeah. My friends came and like everybody collected different beads and they made me this like necklace that I could hold because it was part of Hypno Babies, like because I was planning to have an unmedicated vaginal birth in a hospital. But anyway, like just everything was so intentional and beautiful. It was my most like closest friends.
Yeah.
And then also I was really scared for having postpartum because my mom had some stuff.
Yeah.
And so everybody wrote me a note and then put it in a little box, and I put it in my nightstand for when I needed it postpartum. I could like pull something in. Yeah, like it was amazing.
Oh my God, it reminds me of this little ceremony my friends had.
No, exactly. And that's where I'm going with it. So then with my second, I had an HBAC, so a home birth after cesarean. And so for hers, it was in our house, and we did it in the room where I set up the tub where she was then later born. And we like all brought things to put on a fertility altar. And I had like, because I had an infertility altar in my house.
Yeah.
And so I wiped it clean and we made a fertility altar, and it was like right by the birth tub.
Special. And
that's where I labored, was in front of it. So that's what we did. So I'm just thinking, we'll work on the term later, but we need to coin something that's like a blessing way, but for women going through infertility.
100%. Because my friends just held like a ceremony for me, but like I don't know if it has a name. I have to ask my friend Autumn, who like facilitated it.
I don't think it's a thing.
It's
like an
definitely
official
not
thing.
a thing, but we should it should be an official thing. And like, it shifted something in me where I'm like, it's so different when someone just texts you like, hey, I'm here for you. And them showing up and like doing something for you.
Like friends who probably have kids and like found childcare and like came and like did all these, like they put everything in their life aside.
My friend who's heavily pregnant came, and just her being able to hold me and just be so vulnerable and honest about like the things that maybe she would be afraid to tell me about, like how she's been feeling and how she like feels about me and her being in that season.
Yeah.
And like we were able to be so open and vulnerable with each other that like there was no animosity. There was no like, I felt like, wow, I got that off the table.
Amazing.
Like that's amazing. And then all my other friends just talking about like, you're so strong, and like just reminding you who you are is so important, because you feel lost in that journey. And this, I'm sure the same thing with like pregnancy. Sometimes you just don't feel like yourself, and you're getting ready for this new transition that you don't want to like lose yourself in, but you kind of have no choice. It's like part of motherhood. But yeah, I think just,
and infertility is the same. It's everything that you're saying. Like it's so easy to lose yourself in it.
Yeah. Like my friends reminding me, because I'm like, I feel like I've just been a bad friend, and they're like, what? Like you showed up in this way, you showed up in that way. And I'm like, I almost don't even remember, because you're just like in the grief blur.
That fog is just
you're like, I don't even remember doing that, you know? And they're like, just the way that you show up, you wouldn't even know you're going through this. And I'm like, really? Like, I don't have, tears constantly in my eyes, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, there should be something. And I wish there was a name for it, but yeah.
We're gonna coin a term, and we're gonna make it like a thing.
A tab in that, and think about it.
But if you're listening, and
you should do it for your friends.
Yes. And I said, like, if you were somebody who is planning to conceive, going through infertility, blah, blah, blah. But if you're somebody who's listening and you're not in this space,
and you know someone who is,
even I promise you, there is somebody in your circle who is going through it. Sometimes they're quiet. They're not always loud like you and I are, and going on socials and sharing it firsthand. It could be somebody very close to you who is silently experiencing this. Like, I promise you, you know somebody. Do this for them.
Yeah.
Do it
100%. It literally changed it's something I'm going to remember. If I have a daughter or a son, it doesn't even matter. I'm telling them what my friends did for me because it was that impactful. Like, and I would do it for, God forbid my daughter one day has, I would do it for them in a heart. I would do it for anyone that I knew because it shifted. It allowed me to just sit in like a little bit of like that softness, be like, wow, I have people who have me, you know, like obviously you lean on your husband, but your husband's also being strong for you and for the scenario. So having people outside of your spouse or your partner, whoever, to sit and be like, we have you too, is just, it allows you to kind of go,
because the weight that we carry is,
you don't even realize. It's immeasurable. My husband was like, for literally leading up to my surgery, which I was so stressed about my surgery, literally those 2 weeks leading up to my surgery, is like, you have this lightness to you that I have not seen in 2 years. Aww. And that alone made me cry because I'm like, you can't see yourself, you know? So I just feel like, what do you mean? I wasn't like light and cheery, like I'm trying. Yeah. But it's like, he's like, no, something like there's like a sparkle in your eye that you just didn't have before. Yeah. And every woman should at least experience that at least once in their journey to just feel light again. At least, even if it's for a short amount of time, you know?
I think, and it's like you said though, like there's going to be challenges that are going to be thrown at you as you go into this next chapter, you know, for what your story looks like, but you're still going to carry that experience with you, like as you go. And you can tap back into it. Like,
and I have my gifts, I have my cards. Yeah. So I can always go back and read them when I'm feeling down. It's just, you can't put that into like words of how much it shifted something in me. And I'm like still thinking about it like months later now. It's like, it's crazy. And I just wish it was more normal. And I'm obviously grateful to my friend Autumn. Like she works with women as like women empowerment and stuff. And she really just used her gift of like being able to bring women together in the most intentional way and just do it tastefully without it being like this weird gaudy, you know, like it was like so intentional. And I have tangible things that I can hold on to, like cards and words, and she recorded everything so I can go back and see what everyone said to me, because I was kind of like in this what the heck, I'm like crying, bawling, we were laughing. It was the most beautiful experience. And even her just expressing to me after the thing, she's like, even I was a little nervous because like I don't know your headspace. She goes, I was afraid that you were going to be upset, that we were maybe shining too much light on it, on like this really negative thing. She goes, but honestly, just doing it and just saying like, screw it, I'm not going to think too much about it. Like my heart is in it. I'm in the right place. Let's just do it and see what happens. And she knows I'm a very receptive person. So she was like, that alone just proved that like, just do it, you know, like don't think too much about it. Don't think about how they're going to feel, because they'll probably be just grateful you did anything.
I completely agree. If it were me and I was like the receiving person to that, it wouldn't have to be perfect. But if somebody put that together,
and it was perfect. Like I have no notes, honestly.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, Illie, thank you so much for your time, for sitting in my sauna tent with me. And I hope that you continue to take your wisdom and your light and your heart and share it. Like, it's a vulnerable, scary place, and people don't realize that we are just real people, like, you know, behind the screen. And what you're doing is just so impactful, and I hope you just continue to do it and shine your light.
Well, thank you. And thanks for having me and letting me just be open and vulnerable and just talk about shit that people don't want to talk about.
We love it. We'd love to talk about things people don't like to talk about. Yay!
So good.
If you feel at home here, leaving a 5-star review helps other families find their way too.
Come hang out with us on socials at Lone Wolfe Podcast, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's next.
Remember, sometimes you have to stray from the pack to discover where you truly belong. Until next time, loners.